Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Manju Pawar from BPS Women University, Sonipat, Haryana. Today we are going to talk on the module Social Capital and Community Engagement from the paper Human Resource Development through Community Engagement. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the concept of social capital, its role in the rural and agricultural development. In the last, we will discuss the suggestions for forming and activating social capital for the development with the community engagement. There are various centrally sponsored and state-sponsored schemes being implemented for the development of the people. There are various forms through which provisions have been made for the community to participate in the implementation of these programs effectively. The 73rd and 74th amendments to the Constitution have created institutions at different levels in both rural and urban areas of the country. Gram Sabha, a corporate body of the Gram Panchayat, has also created to ensure people participation. Although various programs have been initiated in the country, incidence of poverty among SCs and STs in rural areas remain very high because nearly 42% of the STs and around 31% of SCs remained poor during 2011 and 12. The main reason for such a plight has been that communities and their organizations have not functioned effectively to meet out their requirement. This is due to the lack of association, their networks and trust to each other. It is well established that social capital play an important role in organizing people for their own development. Here, we will discuss the concept of social capital and its application for effective delivery of goods and services. So, the concept of social capital. The concept of social capital has been involving one. Different scholars have defined it differently. Robert Putnam, who may be said as the father of the concept of social capital, defined it as a features of social organizations such as networks, norms and social trust that facilitate coordination and cooperation for mutual benefits. There are two dimensions of the social capital. The first is the structural, which consists of association, networks, roles, rules, and the second is the cognitive, which is trust, norms and beliefs. The cognitive elements of the social capital incline a person towards collective action and the structural elements of social capital facilitate such action. Foster and Jones in 2011 defines social capital comprises several dimensions of civic participation, social network and social support, social participation, reciprocity and trust and views of the local area. Grant Voter in 1973 identified that the forms of social capital consist of social relations where the relations can be either strong or weak depending on the nature of the relationship. Woolcock in 2011 categorized social capital in three forms, namely bonding, bridging and linking social capital. The bonding form is described as the relationship of individual within the homogeneous group with strong bond. The strong bonds motivate, create confidence to collaborate, support and help each other to satisfy their needs. Bridging form of it enhance social relationship between individual to cooperate with other individuals or heterogeneous groups in order to harness benefits. When we talk about social capital, it has many features like sense of belongingness, networks, bonding, bridging, 3. Feeling of trust and safety, 4. Reciprocity, 5. Participation, 6. Citizen power, values, norms, outlook in life is another feature of social capital, diversity is the last feature of the social capital. Students, linking social capital may be described as the relationship between individual in the power structure, that is to receive support from formal institutions. Fukuyama in 1995 commented that social capital is necessary for successful development, but a strong rule of law and basic political institutions are necessary for such capital. It may be concluded that concept of social capital is associated with associations and their network that has the function of a coordinated social organization to improve collective initiative. All the stakeholders associated with particular tasks are networked in participation, supporting and reciprocal exchange of norms. Any activity involves various aspects such as decision making, implementation, mechanism and cooperation and coordinations for benefits. Now students, we must know the practical aspects of the social capital. We will explain the social capital with two examples. One relates to agriculture sector and another relates to the rural development sector. Social capital and agriculture sector. No doubt the Government of India has taken various initiatives in the area of agriculture development and farmers' welfare to boost the productivity and incomes of the farmers in the country. Over a period of time, Indian agriculture has become cereal-centric, input-intensive by way of consuming amounts of land, water and fertilizer. How to utilize the optimum use of water, shift towards pulses cultivation and unified agriculture market are the challenges before the agriculture. The new initiatives taken by the government are aimed to correct this distortion in order to optimize resources for better outcomes in future. Finance Minister in his budget speech for the last year stressed that there is a need to think beyond food security and give back to the farmers a sense of income security. Social capital and agriculture sector. In order to achieve it, government is orienting its intervention in the farm and non-farm sectors to double the income of the farmers by 2022 and to achieve the total allocation for agriculture and farmers' welfare raised to Rs 35,000 crore. The new initiatives taken by Modi government have been designed to address for getting more production from less inputs in future. These initiatives are timely and help the farmers in their efforts. However, one of the important aspects of Indian farming in terms of operationalizing land holdings is very important in order to get more from less inputs by way of building social capital among the farmers in the country. It becomes more relevant in the context of land holdings and also disproportionate progression of techno-economic units for completing the operations of the farms. The issues of as how to build up social capital among farmers is addressed in this note so that a policy decision in this regard may be taken up to achieve the desired outcomes in future. There are many issues related to social capital and agriculture sector. India is facing many challenges and most of them are linked to water availability and food security. India has 17% of population but only 4% of water resources and 2.3% of geographical area of the world. By 2050, the population is projected to be 1.7 billion requiring food grains. Thus, the future scenario is going to have tremendous pressure on existing natural resources. The budget of the current year also addressed these issues, but other problem is the uneconomic size of land holdings. In this context, Dr. M.S. Radhwa, former Vice Chancellor of Punjab Agriculture University, argued that dramatic increases in agricultural production of the kind necessary for India to progress are possible only with agriculture and fairly large land holdings. In his words, an efficient farmer must have tractor and tube well. Without a tractor, multiple cropping and timely sowing is not a practical possibility. If a farmer has a tractor and a tube well powered by an electronic motor or diesel engine, he must have a minimum economic holding of 20 to 25 acres of irrigated land. This in itself explodes the myth that new technology of production is neutral to the size of holding. As per the opinion of the expert, only 1% of operational holdings is economic holdings in India. The highest number of land holdings are in marginal category, which are also increasing as their share, which was 62.9% in 2001, was increased to 67.10% in 2011, whereas other categories of land holdings share in total operational holdings is coming down. It means all the operational holdings are uneconomic in a situation, how is it possible to provide proper irrigation facilities and marketing of produce. Hence, solution to the problem lies in making operational holding economic holdings as far as possible. In this context, role of social capital is very important to enable the farmers to operationalize their land holdings in such a way that these farmers, without losing their identity, have pulled their machineries and implement to realize economics of scale in their various operations, because the social capital can save existing land, human and mechanical powers to increase production and productivity of the land holdings in the countryside. Now students, we must know the existing scenario. There are number of operational holdings in the country, but they are operationalized individually, leading to uneconomic operations. It is noticed that ego, class and caste come in the picture, which act as remedy to collective action and faith on each other, but where not much difference among and between farmers on the basis of ego, caste or class operational holdings perform better because they could use one techno-economic unit for their holdings. Two factors have been responsible for such a plight of land holdings and their operators. First, there is no coordination between and among various farmers at different levels. Second, there is no leadership among farmers at the local level. The farmers may be organized into groups by initiating proper social mobilization at different levels, because social mobilization convenes them to act collectively and share operational cost of a particular machinery instead of purchasing it for his holdings. It promotes collective action among people of the community. The cognitive element of social capital would motivate them to work collectively, and network element would facilitate collective action. In nutshell, there does not exist coordination and cooperation in the following areas, like there is no coordination among the farmers of different families belonging to different caste and community, farmers and service providers, farmers of different classes. Now students, we must know the existing scenario of social capital, and we must also understand how to optimize operational holdings. The prospects for optimally functioning of operational holdings largely depends on the proper coordination and cooperation among different farmers, which is possible through formation of social capital and activating dormant capital. In order to promote social capital, there is a need to form and activate the social capital which is available in the community, like existing self-help group, association of self-help groups at different levels, various community-based organizations, committees, and promotion of grassroots level movements. It may be mentioned that over a period of time, there are discussions at different forums on collective action, but not much attention has been given to form groups of farmers in systematic way and network them into federations. Keeping in view the apathy of the officials and non-officials for building social capital among farmers, the role of agency, which may be individual or a group of enlightened persons of the community or civil society, is very important in making social capital active, which in turn activate community organizations effective and responsive. It may be said that where such groups involved as watchdog, these institutions worked effectively. Hence, the role of agency is very important in activating latent social capital and further forming social capital in the developing community. Now we will discuss the role of agency. It is interesting to note that everywhere, it may be organizations or associations, people prefer agency which can help them in an effective delivery of its services. It may be a person among its members or any other organization which can activate different stakeholders so that they would perform their work properly. In this way, there would be proper coordination and cooperation with different connected organizations and associations, movements, etc. The diagram given below depicts the relationship between and among farmers, departments looking after their interest, social capital and the agency. It may be seen from the diagram that social capital could be activated through agency, which in turn can make the activities of the farmer association effective and meaningful. In fact, promotion of social mobilization enhances social capital and establish linkages with other formal and informal stakeholders engaged in farm development activities of farmers and other like-minded communities. Line of action. Relevant material on social mobilization should be developed. While developing so, the element of applied spirituality should be made the part of curriculum for a sustained impact. Last economic survey revealed that as much as 63.5% of the scientists had low to very low level of productivity. Hence, these agriculture scientists available at universities, agro centers, KVKs, that is Krishi Vigyan Kendra, may be redeployed in this task. Facilitation groups may be established. The operational guidelines may be worked out in a participatory manner. Now, let us focus on the role of social capital in the effective implementation of the rural development programs. Existing arrangement for rural development administration, the Kerry report has pointed out that the administrative failures may be due to the extent that what is given to the administration is itself not well conceived. In this context, critical importance of constituting a decentralized planning authority and machinery at the district level to formulate an integrated district block village development plan which combine both the development and beneficiary aspect with a shared objective of uprooting poverty has been emphasized. This very deficiency of adopting the integrated approach to rural development has been overcome by the 73rd and 74th Amendment to the Constitution. These amendments have provided the legal arrangement for decentralized planning at village, block and district level for rural areas and at the municipality level in urban areas. The respective plans so prepared would be integrated at district level by the District Planning Committee, that is DPC, provided 243ZD of the 74th Amendment to the Constitution. The above provisions have sought to provide an enabling environment for various stakeholders to participate in the decision making from Gram Sabha to District Planning Committee. But unfortunately, the system provided by the Constitution has not been put into practice as various components of the social capital have not been activated. For instance, the meeting of the Gram Sabha held regularly, rarely. The position of the Gram Panchayat is similar. The meetings of the subcommittees, standing committees at different levels of the Panchayati Raj institutions too are held rarely. Not only this, even the meetings of the Mahila Mandal, Youth Mandals, Kisan Clubs, Parents Teachers Association too are not held regularly. In other words, these institutions are in existence only for namesake. Had the meetings of these institutions been held properly, it would have not only made people's involvement possible, but rural development bureaucracy would also have been activated. Two factors have been responsible for such a plight of these institutions. First, there is no coordination between and among various institutions at the district and sub-districts level. Second, these institutions are themselves dormant. The social capital in the form of these institutions is in existence but not active. To put it differently, in case of the institutions which have been formed by the government itself, coordination does not exist among them. This may be due to the lack of awareness and lack of interest on the part of those who are expected to operationalize these institutions. For example, keeping in view the importance of interface between officials of the 16 line departments whose functions have been devolved to the Panchayati Raj institutions and the elected representatives of Jila Parishad for Rural Development in Haryana. Haryana Institute of Rural Development, that is HIRD, organized 2-day workshop in Yamunanagar district of the state in 2003. It was very shocking to find that officers of not only the 8 departments could attend the same. The example indicated shows that the lack of social capital in the administration of the rural development programs. The regular interaction, discussion, dialogue and seminars promote democracy and participation of people in their development. But it is not happening mainly on the account of the lack of social capital or dormant social capital. This example relates to the coordination between elected representatives and the officers of line departments. But there is no coordination among bureaucracy. Besides those line departments, there are 2 main departments, namely Rural Development and Panchayats, whose bureaucracy has been stationed at district and sub-districts level. Rural Development Department bureaucracy comprises of project economists, assistant project officers and project officers of the DRDA. The Development and Panchayat Department bureaucracy comprises of the DDPO, BDPO, SCPO and Gram Sachiv. The former looks after the schemes of rural development and the latter implement those of the Panchayati Raj institution. But there is no coordination between these 2 line departments. This is due to the absence of social capital. In addition to above, there does not exist coordination and cooperation in the following bodies. Like there is no coordination between the elected bodies such as Panchayat and cooperatives, the organizations which are working at the various levels, there is no coordination. There is no cooperation and coordination between Gram Panchayat and Gram Sabha. The Gram Panchayat and Panchayat Samitis, they do not have any coordination. On the same way, Panchayat Samiti and Jila Parishad do not have the coordination. Apart from this, in the field it has been observed that there is no coordination between the line departments, rural development departments, community based organizations and non-government organizations. Now, it is very important to understand how to make rural development administration effective. Effective rural development administration largely depends upon the proper coordination and cooperation among different stakeholders, which is possible through formation of social capital and activating of those capital lying dormant. And for this, there is a need of activating the following. 1. The village, block and district level committees. Number 2. Associations. Number 3. CBOs, that is community based organization. And number 4. Committees working at various levels at the grassroots level. It may be mentioned here that over a period of time, the state has extended its hand by constituting and forming various committees and associations for collective action, but not much attention has been given to make them active, perhaps assuming that if these institutions became active, they will question on the accountability of the officials and non-officials. Keeping in view the apathy of the administration, the role of an agency of the government or the civil society is very important in making social capital active, for in turn making administration effective and responsive. Where it has been involved in activating the dormant institution, the rural development administration worked effectively. Hence, its role of the agency is very important to activate dormant social capital. Role of voluntary organizations for forming and activating social capital. Interestingly, most of the programs of the government are being implemented by way of organizing people into groups and their network. Besides, convergence has also been emerged as development mantra to harness optimum results from existing resources available under various programs. In this way, there is a need to build up social capital in the field. But how to build social capital is not a very easy job. There is a need to have proper social mobilization by the specialized agencies like non-government organizations. Hence, the role of agencies is very important in this regard. NGOs or voluntary organizations can play a very important role of agency in forming new social capital and activating dormant capital in the society. The success of implementation of various programs like immunization, eradicating illiteracy, empowerment of weak and marginalized groups across the world largely depends on the proper social mobilization, which in turn builds up the social capital by way of promoting collective action. Social mobilization is a process of bringing all social groups at one platform to raise their voices towards a particular development. It is also aimed to facilitate delivery of resources and services and strengthen people's participation for sustainable and self-reliant development. Now students, to conclude about discussion, it may be stated that social capital is very important in the development of any sector. Even in a family, there is no collective action that family does not grow and develop in a right perspective. Similarly, in education sector, if there is no proper coordination and cooperation among different stakeholders, the result will not be positive and encouraging. It is also true that association and organization of the social groups could be made effective and responsive if there is a built pressure within the group itself. There should be awareness about the benefits in collective action to get more from less inputs. However, their social norms, relations and trust in each other will have to be kept in view while doing so. That could be built up by initiating the process of social mobilization on a sustained basis. This is essential because our own experience show that the association and groups formed without undergoing the process of social mobilization are in fact depleted stock of social capital that is available in the society. It has happened on the account of inability or incapacity of the agency involved in the formation, nurturing and sustaining the social capital. Hence, the capacity of the agency, which may be an NGO, that is non-government organization, a social worker, people representatives or any other entity may be identified in order to build up the social capital for effective delivery of services. Thank you.